Almost as an introduction to the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, which we go on to do, the Haggadah brings the Arba Banim. We have 4 different children, all who actually ask different questions about Leil HaSeder, and they're all given different answers by the Haggadah. I wanted to discuss the Arba Banim as a kind of prism through which to view different approaches to education and different approaches to education for different people. You've clearly got 4 different characters there. You've got the Chacham, you've got the Rasha, you've got the Tam, the Shen, the Elisho. Everyone can think of different people who fit into the different 4 categories, and we've got completely different answers. I wonder if the Rosh Yeshiva could reflect on that for a bit.
Right. First, I'll begin with a general observation about the structure of the Haggadah, which is interesting. We don't have too much time. We have to pack in matzah, maror, even out the Korban Pesach, korech, shulchan orech, afikomen, magid, Arba for chatzos. So we don't have too much time. And of course, Pesach night is not an exalted evening, it's also a rushed evening, which contributes to the sense of b'chipazon, b'bihilu yatsumi mitzrayim. And we devote, what I would say, a disproportionate amount of time to reflection, not to tell the story, to reflecting upon the need to tell the story. The whole opening passage of the Haggadah doesn't deal with the story itself. Right? The Mishnah tells us that you should start with this matchel begnut v'sayim b'shvach. You should start with a story. Right? It's a story. You start with how things were bad and how they became good. No, we don't start with that. We say Avadim Hayinu, right, for the record, because the Mishnah says to start with the Gemara says to start with Avadim Hayinu. But actually, we didn't spend a long time. Mas Rosen Azari Rekiva in Bnei Brak and Yachal Mirish Chodesh. We put a massive amount of time, and I've been to many Sedarim in which everyone unloads all of their vortim in the first half of the Seder. When you come to the actual essence of the story, time it's too rushed. You're running out of time. So the preface gets more attention and more time and more commentary than the actual story. There's got to be something here. It's not just like a distortion. It has to be an idea that Chazal are interested in. I think what they're interested, they want self-awareness and self-reflection upon what you're doing. This is not just go and recite a text or chant or even discuss a text. You have to come in with a full self-awareness. You have to reflect upon what you're doing. You have to understand the significance of Vigata Levincha. Vigata Levincha, we said in a previous installment, it's one of the most crucial mitzvos, transmitting Masorah, taking your values and transmitting to the next door, right? Zachor is not only mitzvah Amalek. Right? Zachor Mitzrayim. Zachor means transmitting consciousness. A matter of fact, the Rambam has the mitzvah, not the Rambam says, mitzvah esed saper b'nisan f'ol sen b'lach ha'mishasar b'nisan shneimar zachor et Hashem tzatan mitzrayim. My father would often comment upon this Pesach night, that even though the mitzvah Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, and we have this sharp distinction between Zechira and Sipur, the Rambam goes out of his way to quote the pasuk of Zachar es hayom hazeh. Obviously, the Haggadah wants us to be aware of what we're doing, and I think also to highlight the crucial significance of this. Pesach night is not just remembering Chazdei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pesach night is transmitting the consciousness of what it means to belong to Am Yisrael, of being Jewish, this is basically transmitting the tradition. And because of that, we devote so much time to reflecting upon it.
How do we do that?
So, how do we do that? We explain to ourselves what we're about to do. And this is the point of all those passages in the beginning. Now, one of them we relate to the fact you can't come one size fits all. You can't have a narrative. If you want to transmit the tradition, you cannot have a narrative which you thrust upon everyone the same narrative. Everyone has to, and we mentioned in one of the previous installments, this is not intellectual. Logic is universal. This is not logic. This is experience. Every child and every individual experiences life differently. And because you experience, I once commented here in the yeshiva that the Kohen Gadol has a tzitz and the choshen. The tzitz represents logic. It's right. You put it on the mind. Logic is universal. The tzitz is uniform. The choshen, though, is on the heart. The heart symbolizes the emotions. Emotion, very different. Everyone refracts reality emotionally, very different. So therefore, when you have the choshen, 12 different colors, each individual, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Naphtali, Zvulun, each of them experiences differently. And then you have to relate to each person differently. All of us know that when we raise children, you cannot raise children with each child the same way. Each has different personality. Rashar Hirsch famously commented on this point about Yitzchak and Yitzchak trying to raise Esav and Yaakov, and whether or not he's right or wrong about Esav and Yaakov, he's certainly right about us. We have to educate each child as an individual. I look at my children, I look at my siblings. Each of us has a very different personality. And therefore you have to come. You have one child who's very intellectual. His sense of humor is very verbal. You have another child who's very outgoing. He's very sociable. Each one is, I don't begin to say stereotypes here. It's bad enough I mentioned two already. But there's so many differences of personality, and each one is different. Now, so we come to the Chacham. He has his needs. We come to the...
As a disciple, it does seem to be answered quite kind of logically and not emotionally. He's told Hilchos HaPesach. Why is he given this kind of halachic-centric answer?
I think there are two reasons. First, the halach is important, and when we say about that the emotions and experience are important, it's not to say that other elements are not important. But I think more importantly, when we say that emotions are important, that's not l'mi'ute, it's not to exclude the intellectual. Our experiences integrate within them both our feelings and our intellect. A person experiences life also through his intellect. If you remove from a person his intellectual ability or his chas v'shalom, he loses personality, not his knowledge. Lo aleinu, chas v'shalom, we see this sometimes with people who have cognitive problems. People who lose their cognitive abilities to disease or illness, or because they're under the influence of all kinds of narcotics or whatever, they've lost their personality. It's not they've lost their knowledge or their intellect. They've lost the personality. We experience the world. Al pi yidiyat ha'ava. Knowledge inspires and begets experience. And the Chacham experiences, through his knowledge, he experiences life. I remember discussing with the Rav, a person who studied Hilchos Lulav, Hilchos Sukkah, experiences the Sukkah and Lulav differently. And the Chacham, part of his experience is through his halakhic knowledge. Now, the same holds true of the Tam. One of my father's favorite vartim, especially to younger children, Pesach night, he always used to say, why do you say to the Tam, B'chozek yadu tziyan Hashem b'Mitzrayim? The Tam is so impressionable, and you begin to explain to the Tam to analyze different elements, or how Moshe Rabbeinu influenced Paro, you lose him. You say to the Tam, B'chozek yad, bang, boom. I remember my father, raising his fist and striking down. You say to the Tam, that's what he understands, because Baruch Hu gave Paro a big patch, that's what he understands. The Shena Daily Show, you have to draw him in, you have to provoke his curiosity. We all know, sometimes children, certain things interest them, others don't. You have to draw them in. This is the ABC of education. And the Rosh, if he's provocative, it can be a negative influence, he needs one kind of answer. If, on the other hand, just bravado and you're able to bring him into your world, of course, better. The crucial point, Pesach night is not the crucial point. The crucial point is educating the whole year round. And I'll make one final comment. It seems to me the starting point for all this, what's more important than giving different answers, is the recognition of different children. The most important line in this passage is, Kineged Arba Banim Dibra Torah. Later on, so the Haggadah gives 4 roadmaps. There may be others. even if you're going to give the same answer, the recognition that you're dealing with 4 different personalities and 4 different experiences and 4 different personas, that's the crucial starting point for everything you'll do down the road when you answer them, and of course when you learn with them, and when you play with them, and when you go into Yulim with them. Everything you do, your whole parent-child relationship has to be the recognition. Kineged Arba Banim Dibra Torah. Toda Rabba, Chag Kasher v'Sameach to everyone.
Chag Sameach. Thank you very much for Lichtenstein for joining us, and to all people watching at home. Chag Sameach.
תודה.